One thing I really like about this bank is how much everyone genuinely cares about their customers and about the community and about each other. Always trying to put ourselves in the customer's place. What would I expect if I were the customer? And then we try to take it up a few notches from there. And it's kind of like being part of the family when you're banking with us.
Welcome Reverend Gene Shelburne with the Ministry Church of Christ to give her invitation.
As we begin this meeting, Lord, we acknowledge our total dependence on you. You are so great, and we are so small. You are so wise, and we so often lack understanding. You are so strong, and we are so limited in what we can do. So as your creatures, Lord, we bow before you, our Creator, to praise you for the ways that you have blessed us and to seek your continued care. Outside our city limits, Lord, almost nobody knows or cares that we're meeting here today. Right here in town, only a handful seem to be aware that we're tinkering with their property and their destiny. But you know, Lord, because you are everywhere and know everything. You will hear every word we speak and witness every decision we make in these chambers today. In your wisdom, make us wise. In your righteousness, make us fair. In your holiness, cause us this day to speak what is true and to do what is right. We pray in your Son, who came to make us more like you. Amen.
Thank you. You all would join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good afternoon. Welcome to everyone. Welcome to the regularly scheduled meeting of the Amarillo City Commission held on the first floor of City Hall each Tuesday and this Tuesday at 3 p.m. The first item for business on today's agenda is the minutes. Attached is a copy of the minutes. Those minutes are for the regularly held meeting on January 17, 2012. Are there any corrections or additions to the minutes?
Mayor, I will move for approval of minutes as presented.
I second that motion.
All those in favor of the minutes as presented?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes with a 5-0 vote. Next item would be item number 2, reports and presentations. This item is a report from the Amarillo Local Government Corporation to the Amarillo City Commission on their activities and the status of the Amarillo Downtown Redevelopment Projects, and an update from the project developer Wallace Pajali Development Partners, Ltd. And Mr. City Manager, I believe, is Gary Pittner going to start this out as president of the LGC?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I believe Mr. Pittner is here today. Does serve as your president for that board and has since its initiation.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That was quick. I didn't even have an opportunity to take it down for you today. Good afternoon, Mayor and City Commission. I'm very pleased as President of the Amarillo Local Government Corporation to have the opportunity to visit with you, to brief you on the work of the corporation, and concurrently, along with our development partner, Wallace Pajali, is represented here today by Mr. Joe Ash, to bring you up to date on the very exciting plans moving forward for downtown redevelopment in our community. It was just 10 short months ago. It seems like it was longer ago than that to me, but just 10 short months ago, on March 22nd, 2011, the Amarillo City Commission established, pursuant to Texas state statutes, a local government corporation, kind of a unique creature in Texas law, a bit of a hybrid between a nonprofit and a political subdivision of the state, really perfectly suited to carry out the kind of development responsibilities that you all assigned to us back on March 22nd. There were 2 broad charges on that day given to the local government corporation by the City Commission. The first being to explore, in concert with the previously selected master development partner, the feasibility of downtown projects, development projects, and to bring recommendations regarding such to the City Commission. The second task brought in charge to the body was to serve as the implementation vehicle for such projects, should that ultimately be the desire of the City Commission. So those were our charges. The City Commission also on that day appointed 7 citizens of this community to serve as that corporation's board of directors. And I'll just remind you that those board members are former Mayor Glenn Carson, former Amarillo City Commissioner Ron Boyd, current chairman of the Downtown Amarillo Incorporated Group, Mr. Les Simpson, the chairman of the Tax Increment Reinvestment Zone Board, Richard Brown, 2 sitting members of the Amarillo City Commission, Commissioner Eads and Commissioner Sims, and I was honored to be the 7th member of that body. Let me just say how much I appreciate the work and the effort of my colleagues on that board. Very dedicated group with certainly nothing but the very best interest of this community at heart as they are carrying out their responsibilities on the corporation's board. The board, if my count is correct, has met in open public session on 17 occasions in our first 10 months of existence. Early meetings, as you would expect, were organizational in nature. However, we quickly transitioned to the downtown development task at hand. For example, the board reviewed and concurred with Wallace Bajali's selection of the HKS Lavin team as the architectural firm to help us move forward with the projects. The board reviewed and concurred with the development partner selection of American Property Management as the operator of the proposed hotel. The board reviewed and concurred with the master developer selection of Southern Independent Baseball as the operator of the multi-purpose event venue. From late May through the summertime months, June and July, the LGC, along with Wallace Bajali, focused on crafting a series of recommendations to the City Commission, including specific project elements, the sizing of those elements, and the funding plan necessary to pay for those elements. It was in early August that the LGC board formally recommended to the City Commission approval of the plan as proposed by Wallace Bajali, which included the development of a 300-room convention hotel, an associated parking structure with ground floor retail space, and the multi-purpose event venue. And further recommended, the LGC did to the Commission, that development be funded in the manner as proposed, which involved no need to increase property taxes here in our city, and no need for the city to assume general obligation debt in order to make those projects a reality. Of course, as you all are aware, the City Commission unanimously accepted those recommendations on August 23rd, 2011. I'll always remember that day. It was the day after my birthday, my 55th birthday on August 22nd, so I can make a meeting there. At that time, the Commission, in addition to unanimously accepting those recommendations and giving the green light to move the projects forward, actually gave additional assignments to the Local Government Corporation Board on that day. Those included continuing the task contained in the City's Master Development Agreement in terms of serving as the City's agent in the implementation of that Master Development Agreement. You asked us to continue our due diligence and the refinement of the project's financial projections as the project moved forward. You ask us to develop, negotiate, and execute all documents necessary and prudent to move the project forward, and ultimately you ask us to diligently oversee the construction of the hotel, the parking facility, and the multi-purpose venue. And I can report to you that the body has been honoring those responsibilities to this point. For example, since you issued those August 23rd marching orders, the board selected and engaged the services of Mr. Paul Sander of the Strasburger and Price Law Firm to assist the board, the City Attorney's Office, and senior city staff in the representation of the public's interest in the development and the negotiations of the various agreements and contracts which would be required to move this project forward. The board itself appointed a 3-member subcommittee, knowing that there was a lot of work to be done, appointed a 3-member, what we call a document development committee, was established and activated to develop and sift through the details with legal counsel and staff regarding the agreements and contracts in preparation for the ultimate consideration by the full LGC board. In November, the LGC crafted amendments to the Master Development Agreement and thus approved payment to Wallace Bajali of previously incurred project pursuit costs leading up to your August 23rd decision to proceed. Since mid-November, about Thanksgiving time, the LGC has been focused on 2 primary tasks. The first being the development of a milestone chart, which you have a copy of, I think, the yellow sheet before you this afternoon. That chart outlines the decisions or approval points for the hotel, the parties to those decisions, and the sort of approval necessary to move that project forward. I provide that to you just to illustrate the kind of detailed work that we are undertaking at this point in the project. You see there the various agreements at the top of that chart that will have to be finalized before we move forward. The deliverables that will need to be delivered by the master developer and approved by various parties locally. The process that will be used to select a construction contractor for the project. The various approval points that we're looking forward to in terms of the project design and the elements for the project. And certainly, and I think most importantly, looking at and approving the financing and the funding commitments, all before we get to that final notice to proceed and formally move the project forward. So we have charted a path forward as a board in terms of the work that we have ahead of us, and we do have considerable work ahead of us. The second focus of attention during the past several weeks for your LGC has been to take care of one of the major items at the top of that list there, and in terms of our to-do list, and that's the development and lease agreement for the hotel and the parking structure. This is the document that will actually ultimately be executed between the LGC and Wallace Vajali, which will lay out specific commitments, things such as completion deadlines, the final agreed-to budget, the term or the length of the relationship, the processes that will be carried out to approve things such as design, drawings, the approval of the final financing for the project, and things that you would expect in the lease, such as insurance requirements, default language, remedies, assignments, etc., etc., etc. The hotel and the hotel lease and development agreement, which we are laboring over right now, will govern this community's interest in that project for the next 40 years, possibly the next 60 or 80 years ahead. So the Document Development Committee, the LGC Board, our legal counsel, and city staff are being very purposeful, we're being very methodical, and we're being very deliberate in its development. The document's first draft was prepared by Wallace Vajali's legal counsel, and they did a great job preparing that first draft. It has since been reviewed by our legal counsel, and again, it's not a small document. The body of the agreement is sizable, about 110 pages in length, plus about 30 pages of supported definitions, never mind the appendices and the exhibits that will be attached thereto. So it's not a quick, easy 3-page read. It's something that we are working very hard to be very careful with in terms of moving forward. The LGC committee, our attorney, and the senior city staff have been reviewing that draft lease and development agreement, not necessarily word by word, but we have been looking at it line by line over the past several weeks, and anticipate having a recommended revised draft to present to the full LGC board in short order so that we can move forward in finalizing that agreement with the Wallace Vajali Development Partners. Let me just close my part by saying I know we are all, and I'm in this category, we're very anxious, just itching to see heavy equipment and dirt flying across the street over here on Buchanan Street. We just can't wait to push that blast-off button on this project. However, I would suggest to the Commission today that a dose of patience is probably good medicine at this stage in this project. This is an important project for this community, and the LGC Board is fully aware of the importance of this project to our community. This is a big project. It's $113 million big, and we're aware of the magnitude of that. This is, by design, a complicated project, and there are a lot of moving parts in this project. So the kind of grinded out, non-headline making work that your LGC board is engaged in at this stage is, in my opinion, absolutely vital to the ultimate success of our downtown efforts. So I know I can speak for my colleagues on the LGC board that we are committed to the kind of careful attention that is being paid to this document at this point in time in order for us to be good stewards of this city's interest in this project and to ensure this project's ultimate success for the citizens of Amarillo. I'd be happy to answer questions, should you have any, concerning the work of the LGC to this point. And Joe Esch is here to, from our partners' perspective, update you on the work as well as the job as we at the LGC have been undertaking our responsibility.
Does anyone on the commission have any questions for Mr. Pitt in regards to what he's reporting? Yes.
Excuse me, not so much questions, Mayor, but thank you and the compliment. Most especially to Gary and his document committee. He pointed out how many 17 meetings where we had, which has been quite often. But the document committee has been meeting hours and hours and hours outside of that on all of these contracts and the documents that are involved in this. And of course, that committee is Mr. Pittner, Mr. Parkey, and Mr. Brown, and have done a yeoman's job. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to add any compliments. I know the amount of work is, we can't even understand how much you've done so far, and your group has done, so we appreciate very much. Appreciate your earnest concern about getting it started, but we think, I would get universal approval if you take the time necessary to do it properly.
Thank you.
I just would like to say thanks for being here, and I know that we get updates as needed from you as these milestones occur, and I think it's really important for the people, the public, to be able to hear, what's happening, because you kind of disappear under the radar, and it's good to hear what's going on.
Work is underway, and I'm very pleased with where we are status-wise.
Good. May we hear from Mr. Etch, our partner.
Mayor, members of the Commission, Mr. Atkinson, Gary, and everyone on the LGC has been wonderful to work with. We have heard a lot of people like to move forward, and to quote my father, the sooner I fall behind, the more time I have to catch up. And we're trying to not heed that advice, because this is a project which is complex. This is something that if you start too early and you start with a set of assumptions that you haven't validated, if you start without having a good foundation on the nature of the relationship and everything going forward, you will be forever behind. And to ensure that projects come in on budget, which is critical importance, that the quality, that the community's interest, that the private sector's interest, all of those are achieved, requires us to spend this time up front. And it may seem like a significant amount of effort that's going into it, and it is. But in comparison for the decade that this facility will be in existence, it's a small amount of time. So it's very important, and I think there has been a lot going on. There's a lot going on underneath the surface that isn't readily apparent. We were so busy, and every week over the summer we had some public meeting or something going on, and now the planning processes are underway. The investigation going even further into details, and there will be significant public meetings going forward. There will be opportunities to present what things are going to look like, to have input, to make sure that the community's needs and interests are maintained. The draft agreements, as Mr. Pittner indicated, have been provided. Lease and development agreement and economic development agreement has been provided. A draft agreement between Coca-Cola and the AEC on that property is in process. Additionally, there are other work that's continuing from an operator agreement standpoint between ourselves and the NPEV operator, between ourselves and the hotel operator, the franchise agreements that go with the hotel, all those things are in play. We're finalizing the agreements with the architects. We had a budget that we put forward. That budget was put forward in the fashion that we wanted to take a look. Now that we're moving forward, how is it that we can refine that budget to take some costs out of it? When you're looking at the budget, and the architects were coming back to us with a set of fees that they need more certainty to narrow down their numbers. And the more information they have, the greater confidence they can have with their budgets, the lower that they can reduce their costs, which ultimately benefits the project. So we've been able to, through that process, take some significant dollars, several $100,000 out of what those anticipated costs are going to be. Working with the city, we have been looking at the infrastructure planning. The city in its resources has some wonderful folks in play, and they've been working with not only on the public infrastructure, but also the private infrastructure. Elements are underway to make sure that it can be serviced, that anything that needs to be relocated from a telecommunication standpoint, from any of the things that are out there, is addressed up front. We're meeting with other folks to bring on additional resources. With us today is Chris Gardner. Chris is another individual brought on board to Wallace Pajala. He will be the project manager going forward. Chris comes to us with years of experience, decades of experience. He's actually only 20. He's been spending a lot of time doing construction work and has several $1 billion of experience in construction management. You'll be seeing more of Chris as this project moves forward. He will become more and more the face. He will have an office here as we kick off the construction. He'll be running the weekly planning meetings with the contractors. He'll be working with the architects. He'll be working with the community to make sure that the project is coordinated and delivered in an appropriate fashion. Thanks, Chris. Southern Independent Baseball. We've been working with them. One of the things that has been of utmost importance to us is people said, it's a baseball stadium. And the answer was, no, it's not just a baseball stadium. Southern Independent Baseball has brought on some additional resources at their corporate level, and they're looking at how they can program not just this facility, but their Grand Prairie facilities with additional events that are outside baseball. What can they do to bring concerts? What can they do to other activities? They have been reaching out to partners throughout the industry on how they can best utilize this outdoor facility to make sure that it meets the needs of the community. One of the things I should have mentioned with Chris, well, he's going to be coming back to us, and we work starting with the city leadership as well as with DAI on a master project schedule, a detailed project schedule. We've had a lot of information we've provided to you, but there's a lot more details that you'll be seeing. That's coming forward as well. One of the things that I wanted to come back to, Gary alluded to it, called it the lease and development agreement. I do not want to lose sight of why it is a lease. Because one of the things that people may forget is, why is the city participating in a lease of a hotel? I thought we weren't involved. And there are two basic reasons. First, the legislative mandate on the ability to utilize hotel occupancy tax funds as a rebate back to the project requires that the city have ownership of at least the land. So there has to be some sort of lease. Secondly, if you'll recall, when the presentation was put forward, one of the ways that we were able to decrease the amount of reduce the gap by changing the cash flow is having it publicly owned, which impacts the sales tax on construction materials and impacts the property taxes that ultimately allow us to be able to construct the facility at less cost. I can go on, and I can actually talk really fast while I'm going on, but rather than doing that, I will hope I can demonstrate that there is a lot going on in the project, and that I would tell you that it has been a good working relationship. Part of a good working relationship is that we don't always agree on things. And what's happened each time we come to it with a different perspective, both from our approach and from that of the cities and the LGC, folks have said, okay, well, here's what we need to accomplish when we have a difference. And here's what we need to accomplish. And let's find out how we can accomplish both of those things together, preserving the needs and interests of both parties. So I would say thank you for your time today, and be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Two questions. One is, have you changed your residence to Amarillo yet?
I have not changed my voter registration, and I have not changed my residence. Okay. Well, I feel like I've been here long enough to vote, but
Yes, you have. More serious question is, do you see that the LGC and the city staff is cooperating fully and has been diligent in protecting our interests and making a good partnership with you?
I think so. They have been wonderful to work with. Like I said, they have, their goal is to protect the community's interests, and that's exactly what they're doing. And I think the approach that we've taken is we want to make sure that it's a deal that works for both of us. And they're respectful, they're professional, and they have also, when they have had questions on why we have asked a specific point, they have been open to understanding our point of view as well. And that's what it takes to get a success. And with all those details, that's why it's also taking some time. Sure.
Any questions from the commission?
Appreciate the support.
Thank you very much for your efforts.
I will say that my kids now refer to me as their second favorite father. I think not so much, which kind of scares me.
Put the picture back up on the piano.
Exactly. Thank you.
Thank you for being here. Anyone else going to report on this? Okay. Thank you all. Melissa, also thank you for all your work that you've been doing. Thank you. Okay. Very good update. Okay. We will move on to ordinance number 7310. This is the second final reading of an ordinance changing the zoning of all of Block 9 through 14, Block 1 through 8, and Block 15, Lot 1 through 8, and Lots 25 through 32, Block 16 through 23, and the north 480 feet of Block 24 to heavy commercial district and Lots 9 through 24 in Block 16 through 23, the south 480 feet of Block 24, and all of Blocks 25 and through 33 to light commercial district, all of which are currently zoned residential district 1 and located in the Bel Air addition in section 107. Block 2, ADNM survey, Potter County, in the vicinity of Southeast 23rd Avenue and Eastern Street. Any questions? I know this was presented last week. Any questions from the commission about this item?
We have the black light on so that perhaps we can see.
I don't know what's happened there. Technical difficulties.
The white velvet paintings will be here shortly. Apologize for working on that.
Might test your vision here. Do you have any questions from the audience about this item? Not, I'd entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move that we approve ordinance number 7310. You did say Southeast 23rd, but it is Southeast 22nd Avenue.
Thank you for the correction.
I second that motion.
All those in favor of this motion as presented?
Aye.
That passes with a 5-0 vote. Ordinance number 7311. This is the second final reading of an ordinance changing the zoning of Block 47, Lot 7, and Block 45. This is MD Oliver Eccles addition and portions of vacated streets and alleys in section 171, Block 2, AD&M Survey, Randall County, in the vicinity of Southeast 32nd Avenue and Fillmore Street, to change from Planned Development District 126B to Amended Planned Development District 126C for a vehicle storage building addition. Are there any questions from the commission as this was presented last week? Any additional questions? Any from the audience? If not, I entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move we approve ordinance number 7311.
A second.
All those in favor of ordinance 7311?
Aye.
Opposed? That passes with a 5-0 vote. Ordinance number 7312. This is the second final reading of an ordinance changing the zoning of a 140-foot by 304-foot tract of unplatted land adjacent to Lot 2, Block 7, Lawrence Place, Unit number 14 in Section 227, Block 2, AD&M Survey, Potter County, in the vicinity of I-40 and West Lawn Street, to change from General Retail District to Planned Development District 370 for uses allowed in the General Retail District and an outdoor new/used car sales lot. Are there any questions about this? It was presented last week. Any questions from the commission? Any questions from the audience? Not, I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve ordinance number 7312.
Second.
All those in favor of 7312?
Aye.
Opposed? That passes with a 5-0 vote. Ordinance number 7313. This is the second final reading of an ordinance vacating a 20-foot alley in Block 223 Collins subdivision of Section 156 ABNM Survey, Potter County, in the vicinity of Northeast 2nd Avenue and Johnson Street. Are there any questions about this ordinance? From the commission? From the audience? Not, I entertain a motion.
I would move for approval of ordinance 7313, but point out that this is in block 228.
What did I say? Excuse me. I have 3 on my mind, I guess.
Well, it's ordinance number 7313.
No excuse.
But I still move for approval of that correction.
Thank you. And a second?
Second.
All those in favor of ordinance number 7313?
Aye.
Opposed? That passes with a 5-0 vote. Ordinance number 7314. This is the second final reading of an ordinance vacating a segment of William Street beginning at the southeast corner of Lot 2A, Block 326, Holland Edition number 7, and ending in the southern boundary of the Burlington Railroad ROW, Potter County, in the vicinity of Southeast 2nd Avenue and William Street. Are there any questions about this ordinance from the Commission? From the audience? I entertain a motion.
I move approval of ordinance number 7314.
Second.
All those in favor of 7314?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes with a 5-0 vote. Ordinance number 7315 is the second final reading of an ordinance amending portions of Chapter 2-6 and Chapter 4-8 of the Amarillo Municipal Code. This amendment will repeal and abolish the Board of Appraisal Review, which is currently charged with the administration of fees collected under the previous flood ordinance. These fees are no longer collected and duties of the Board are no longer needed. Fees currently on hand will be expended in their basins of origin, subject to the approval of the City Commission. Any questions about this second final reading? From the Commission? From the audience? I'd entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move we approve ordinance number 7315.
A second.
All those in favor of ordinance 7315?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes with a 5-0 vote. The consent agenda. It is recommended that the following items be approved and that the city manager be authorized to execute all documents necessary for each transaction. A is the purchase of police in-car video recording systems. B is the purchase of sheet steel. C is the purchase of solid waste refuse containers. D is the purchase of waterline tapping machine. Are there any items that need to be removed for separate consideration from the consent agenda by the Commission? If not, are there any comments from the Commission or the audience about the consent agenda? If not, I will entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
All those in favor of the consent agenda?
Aye.
Opposed? That passes with a 5-0 vote. This concludes the agenda for the scheduled meeting of the Amarillo City Commission. It's however customary at this time to allow citizens of this community with matters pertaining to city policy, programs, and services to speak to the Commission. And the floor is now open for those comments. Would anyone like to come forward with comments? If not, we'll adjourn to executive session back in the Commission chamber. Thank you very much, Mayor. Oh, okay, excuse me. We have work session and then I think executive session back in the chamber. So you're welcome to come to the open part of that, which would be the work session in the beginning. Thank you very much for your attendance and your input today. Thank you.